out with our analog panel over here. There. I'm going to bring this back over here. Pretty easy installation situation here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this until it sits firmly inside. Then we have a couple of bolts that we do on the bottom. And then just turn them till they're snug. And then the second bolt on this side. And it's as easy as that. All right, and then we can power up with our analog thing here. So what we're going to do now that we have everything installed, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over here to our card for startup. And so a quick reference card for startup here. First thing we're going to do, make sure everything's plugged in. Then we go over here to the power button, which is going to turn on the power supply to the whole unit here. System's going to power up, load Windows operating system, and then it's going to load the AATD launcher system, at which point we can continue with the process. Down there, AATD starting up here. All right, so now we have here, we have our launch AATD button. Just gives us our standard disclaimer about instrument time. And we can see the panel powering up over there as well. All right, so we got everything online. We're still gonna have a few things load up here. And then we also have a way here to log time. You can see myself as the instructor. I can type in the student. We'll use Max as an example for PPL. And then we can start, and we can get a Hobbs time so we can log that time as well with the student. And then we just wait for everything to load up, and then we can run the sim. So we're going to go through our starting engine checklist now. First, we're going to go mixture rich. We don't have carburetor heat. This is an SP model, nor do we have a primer since it is an SP. We're also going to go throttle about 1/8 of an inch. Master switch, we're going to turn that on. And we're also going to hit the beacon on here. All right, cool. Strobes, we just check the operation. They do work. Propeller area clear. And we will start the prop. Clear prop. And it works nicely there for us. All right. Now from there, we can go ahead and hit everything else on. All right. And everything comes on nicely for us here. And that's our starting engine checklist. Next is we're going to do our run-up checklist. So for the run-up, basically what we're going to do is go through our before takeoff checklist here. It's kind of inclusive of everything. So our parking brake's already been set. Flight controls, we just check that they move freely. Fuel selector is on both. Elevator trim is set for takeoff. Mixture is to rich, and then we go throttle to 1700 RPMs here. And once we're established at 17, we check our magneto operations. We go left, get a drop there, somewhere in the ballpark of about 60 to 70. Back to both, let it stabilize. Then we go to the right, and we get a drop similar, 50 to 70. Definitely less than our 125 max, and no more than 50 between the two. We are looking great there. Everything else looks good. Our vacuum indication looks good. Our ammeter, we do have a charge. Now, if we flick off the alternator, we can see that it does go negative here. And we get a low volts indication there as well. Turn it back on, we got a charge here as well. Friction lock is adjusted to where we'd like, and then we'd set our bugs to what we'd want them to be, right? So if we're taking off out of executive, it would be 1,300 feet. And then we'd set the heading to what we'd want to fly here. So we'd want to fly right about 073 for executive here. All right, and once all that's done, wing flaps set for takeoff. We're not going to use any wing flaps, lights as desired. We want all of them on. I will just flick the strobe on here as well. And then we can release the brakes, and we can do a standard takeoff here. To do the normal takeoff and climb here, we got everything set that we'd want. So we're going to go full power, check the operation of our engine instruments, make sure they're in the green, and we're looking good. And airspeed will come alive here momentarily. Airspeed alive. Need a lot of right rudder to maintain coordination here. 55 knots. We're going to rotate, and then we're going to climb out right about 12 degrees nose high thereabouts for 73 knots. And we can tighten the friction lock so it won't move out, but also at the same time when I'm climbing, I usually would just keep my hand on the throttle. Looking good. Coming up on 1,300 feet here pretty shortly. And we're going to lead the level off here. We're going to leave the level off, 1,300, trim down, let the speed build. As the speed builds, we probably need to trim down even more. Once it builds sufficiently, we're going to go ahead and start working power out to a normal cruise, about 2,300 RPMs. We just want to make sure we don't overclimb there. Okay. All right, so now we're leveled off from climb. We're just going to cruise here 1,300 feet. Right about 2,300 RPMs I find to be a pretty good cruise setting. And we're just cruising here on our heading. Turbulence. We can see that probably what I'd call thereabouts a moderate turbulence at a 172. It takes a little bit of work to fight. You can see that it's moving us around quite a bit. So we'll stay beneath maneuvering speed, and we'll just fight not too hard to keep our altitude, just stay at a level heading. All right, perfect. So now I'm climbing up to 2,500 feet. I'm doing a cruise climb about 85 knots. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because we're going to demonstrate power on and power off stalls. Power on, of course, simulating a takeoff departure stall, and power off is going to be simulating our approach configuration stall. So we're going to start with the power off stall. We're just going to get up to 2,500 feet, and we're going to go ahead and do that stall from there. And so we're going to go ahead and level off at 25. Going to get stabilized here for just a second, and then we're going to start our procedure. Alright, so our procedure for this, we're going to go 1500 RPMs. Get our flaps in. 1, 2, 3. Go idle. And we're going to pitch down to maintain about 60 for 3 seconds. Comes at you fast in this stall. 1, 2, 3. Then we're just going to pitch up for the horizon. Just above the horizon, just above the horizon, just above the horizon. And stall eminent. Stall eminent, stall eminent, and there's my stall. We're going to pitch down, build some speed, and then we can get our climb rate back in, just not too aggressively there. Once we get the climb back in, we're immediately flaps to 20, above 55, flaps to 10, and then positive rate above 65, flaps up. And then we're going to do our power on stall. Now for this one's a lot more straightforward. We're just going to bring the power back to 15 and maintain our altitude. We don't want to climb, just maintain. And as soon as we get down to about 50 some knots, about 55 knots, we're going to go ahead and go full power. Full power. And as we go full power, we're gradually pitching up, gradually pitching up, gradually pitching up. And we're going to go all the way up to 25. We just won't exceed 25. So we're at full power. And there we go. The danger of that stall is uncoordination. You can see that there. Our recovery looks a little something like that. Build up some speed. There we go. Let me try that one more time with a little bit better coordination here, just to avoid that wing drop. Gradually pitch up, a little more gradual this time. And we're going to stay very coordinated on this one. And there we go, a little bit of a drop, but much more manageable. Kick the rudder in, then reestablish a climb. Alright, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to work on an accelerated stall. So what we're going to do, we're just going to get to cruise setting here. Build up some speed, and just chill at cruise for a second. And then what we're going to do after that, we're going to bank 45. And then once we're banking 45, we're going to start to pitch up to initiate an accelerated stall. Now once we get the first indication of a stall, we're going to start our recovery. All right, so we're going to roll straight to 45 here. We can see there's my first indication. We can see that that stall horn comes on high 70s there, so it is indicative of an accelerated stall. All right, so now you can see I'm in a right steep turn here. I'm trying to maintain about 90 knots, about 2,900 feet. And so I'm 45 degrees. You can see I'm banking this much. I do need a little bit more right rudder, so I'm on the... And we're just going to hold this all the way until we come out on our heading. Once we come out on our heading, we're going to go right into the left. Now we got to be careful as we come out on our heading. It's going to be natural that the airplane's going to want to climb. And then we're going to go the other way here. So we got to watch out for that climb, like I just said. And then go the other way, or else we're going to get slow. So that's the danger there. We see we got a little bit of a climb, but that's what the plane does. And we're going to go ahead and get our descent back. Now we need a little bit of less right rudder, even a little bit of left rudder here to maintain on this left side. Get back down to 2,900 feet. And then we roll out, start our rollout. Perhaps a little early on my part on our heading here. And then when we roll out, same thing here. Probably decrease a little bit of power because the natural tendency of the plane is going to go ahead and try to get us up here. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go direct to KORL. We're going to go in for a normal landing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just put that into my GPS. Kilo. Oscar. Romeo. Lima. KORL. Enter, enter. And we're just going to go direct to here. We can see we're only about 10 miles ETE. If we go to our flight plan here, we can see we're about 15 miles out. And we're going to be approaching from the eastern side here. So we'll be landing runway 25. Now, the only thing to remember is our direct to function in the plane is only going to give us direct to the center of the airfield. Now we're going to start our descent down to 1,300 feet to avoid the Bravo shelf here. We're going to go ahead and start doing that. And we're going to go ahead and match these headings so it's not distracting. Alright, then we're just going to look straight ahead till we get the runway in sight. And then we're going to visually go into runway 25 here. Within 1,000 feet of our selected altitude. Starting to see some lights from the runway over there. It's going to be straight ahead. But the airplane really well trimmed out to maintain 500 feet a minute and 90 knots. However, we are a little bit off course. We're just going to go a little more to the left here.
Attention all aircraft. Orlando executive information. Juliet current. Altimeter 2, Delaware 2.
All right, cool. 1,300 feet. Just gonna ride this straight and level here. And we're coming in here, about 5 minutes left. We got about 9 miles to go. I can see downtown and I can see the Pappies in sight for 2.5. Just visually aiming there. At about 2.5 miles, we'll start our setup. We'll do it actually about 3. About 3 miles. Power 1500. As soon as we can, we'll pitch up a little bit just to get to below 85. And 85. Flaps 10. We're a little high, so we're going to go flaps 20 as well. We're just going to pitch for 70 knots nose low. About 2.5 degrees nose low should do the trick, but we need to be about 1500 RPMs as well. Pitch down a little more for 70. And we'll take out a little bit of power so we get on glide path here. Short final, and we're still a little high, so we're going to pitch for 65. We're going to go less power just to get on glide path here. 65. Pitch for airspeed, power for altitude. Glide slope coming in here, and there's glide slope. I'm going to stay pitched down for 65, but at this rate of descent, I'm going to get it low. So I'm going to add in some power. Add in even more. Runway is made. Idle. Right into ground effect. Pitch for the end of the runway, pitch for the end of the runway. Then there's touchdown. Flaps up.